With us here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite the Honourable Jackie Munro, MLC, to deliver our keynote address. Thank you.
It's nice to be introduced very generously by old friends. I think we've known each other probably
A long time.
at least a decade.
At least.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be here this evening. Thank you for having me, Jolie, for inviting me, and for Freehills for hosting. It's a beautiful venue. Great expansive views to have a sense of an expansive mind, I would say. I thought I would start by just revealing the story of how I came to be here, which I think is pretty emblematic of how the innovation ecosystem, if we can have such a thing or call it such a name, works. That I met Shane Muller, who's here tonight, one of the previous winners. Thank you. One of the previous winners of the Consensus Awards at the Radium Capital event, actually. We just networking and we got talking. And so he ended up in my office. We had a chat. I learned about the Consensus Awards. Then a week or two later, I go to a Spark Festival event at UTS, which one of my friends, Mona Chiho, the founder of Juris Technique, was presenting at. And I go there to learn and to meet more people. And then I come across this gentleman, Jolie, who is there also learning about amazing new companies and really getting to know from the ground up the kind of ecosystem that we have at this point in time. And we get to talking, we exchange our details, and then I get to invite him just a week or two after that to the Parliament for the launch of the Parliamentary Friendship Group for Innovation, Ventures, Entrepreneurs and Technology, or Parliamentary Friends of Invent. And he was able to be a part of that incredible launch, one of the biggest launches of this bipartisan or multi-partisan community of parliamentarians. And it's so important to have this recognised in Parliament as a critical part, not only of our ecosystem in terms of startups, but of the wider economy and our society and prosperity. And also, for full transparency, I should note that one of the people who's up for an award this evening is my cousin, Dane Eldridge. And I found out yesterday when I was doing a very good impression of the British playing cricket, that Dane would be here tonight as well. So it's nice to be amongst friends and family tonight. Because it's the end of the year, it's a natural time for reflection, and I've been fortunate to attend quite a number of events that are celebrating excellence and innovation and that recognise dogged determination. I love the idea that Peter was talking about earlier, that Australian companies and Australian founders have this unique spirit of ingenuity, and it immediately took me back to when I went to the Space Machines Company facility out in Botany at the UTS space, and they show me this incredible piece of machinery and equipment that they've MacGyvered together, literally including bunning bits that they just got. They went down to the store down the road at Bunnings and decided that they needed to fashion something in particular to fit their model, and then a piece of modified Bunnings material ends up in space. And that is the kind of ingenuity that we come to, I'm not sure if we come to expect it yet, but we come to rely on for success, I think. And what makes the Consensus Awards different is that the winners go on to achieve incredible impact, not just nationally, but internationally. And it's a mark of the careful consideration that goes into picking winners. Something that as a politician, I'm often told I'm not supposed to do. So I'm not jealous of the judges, but I imagine they have a very, very difficult time of it all. And I have to admit, I only learnt tonight that the judges don't have to pick any winners if they don't want to, but they can also pick multiple winners. And I think that makes the achievement of these awards particularly special. being part of the Liberal Party, and also I think being part of the entrepreneurial spirit, is recognising that failure and success are necessary parts of a flourishing economy and society, and this has already been touched on. We can't fully protect against failure, and nor should we, but we should also try to maximise the impact of success wherever we can. It's about how we approach failure and success that is critical to our growth. It is why I love the Israeli approach to innovation, and Israel again has already been mentioned tonight, and I'm sorry about my language here, but they have something called fuck-up nights. And that's where entrepreneurs share the things that they would do differently next time, or the lessons that they learned from past decisions that didn't quite go as they planned. It is the recognition that learning and acting underpins progress. It's collaboration and competition that work at different levels, and I learned this concept when Andrew Tang came out to Sydney with Glenn Whale. It was a DeFi night, and they were talking about this concept that you have different levels of competition and collaboration. Say with a sporting environment, you have the individual team where you collaborate with your teammates, but then you have the soccer or football competition where you actually collaborate amongst teams to get the competition to work, and you agree on a set of rules. But then at a higher level, you compete against one another, and then you're also competing against different codes of football or different sports to make sure that soccer or football is the most valuable. But actually above that, everybody should be playing sports. So you have a recognition that collaborating to get people active is important. And I think that these awards are really part of recognising those different levels of collaboration and competition, and highlighting that it is not just about competition in the business world, it's very much about collaboration. And celebrating the excellence that is born from this cycle, it gives us the opportunity to keep learning from achievement and the achievers in this room. Because fundamentally, none of us have equal talents or equal resources, but if we maximise what is available to us and work tirelessly with the people who share our vision and enhance our capabilities, that is where the magic happens. So I do applaud all the winners tonight for working with your strengths, for making your ideas real, enhancing your capability and impact by working with trusted partners in that collaboration space. And I also wanted to highlight tonight the role of your work in the national interest. And I noted that Julian is wearing his Australian flag pin, which I absolutely love. And I think that spirit of patriotism is something that we should talk about more often and express more often, because I think patriotism, it gets a bit of a bad rap these days. It's unfortunately more associated these days with something that might pull us apart, or identity politics, things that actually cause us to be in conflict. But instead, I love the idea that Yuval Noah Harari talks about in patriotism, which is that actually it's a love of our compatriots, and it's things like paying taxation that give us a sense of quiet patriotism that allow us to respect and work with our compatriots for the benefit of the whole. So thank you for highlighting that in my mind, and hopefully for others as well. All of you know that the innovation ecosystem, so-called, is not some separate entity. For our economy to grow and our individual prosperity to flourish, the spirit of innovation and entrepreneurship must be embedded in all parts of our economy. Tech Central alone down the road has an estimated value of $68 billion, which in a $750 billion economy, which is what approximately the New South Wales economy is worth, is exciting. But our country's flagging productivity, and Australia's latest multi-factor productivity grew by 0.1%, which is pretty dismal, does put our quality of life at real risk. And if we fail to innovate across all sectors and ecosystems, from advanced manufacturing to classroom teaching, we will not shift these figures. As you expand into global markets, you are representing our country and her interests as much as you are your own and your customers and your investors' interests. It's not just about drones or cybersecurity, it's about something, I think, more lasting or deeper or more profound, because Trade is relationships and innovation is power. And when you put those two things together, we have an incredible opportunity to be impactful well beyond the walls of our business. Without strong trading relationships, our country does not have a pathway to sustained economic growth. And without innovation, what we can offer the world remains stagnant and therefore ends up decaying. And that is actually exactly what's happening in Australia. Australia sits at 105 on the Harvard Economic Complexity Index, and that is pretty grim. That's 105 out of 145 countries. We are the 105th least economically complex economy in the world, and we are one below Botswana and one above Cote d'Ivoire. I mean, that's a pretty confronting economic neighbourhood, and truly it's a huge risk to our prosperity. We've been on a downward trajectory since 1998 when we sat at 70. Australia's worsening complexity has been driven by a lack of imagination and foresight, and crucially, an inability to diversify exports where, of course, as you know, mining and fossil fuels and agriculture are still the main game. Incidentally, so you're aware, the Harvard Kennedy School identified chemicals and machinery as the two strategic bets for our country that might support economic expansion. So this picture ultimately means that we need entrepreneurs to underpin our future economic growth and our economic complexity, to offer indispensable new products and services to the world, to fortify trusted global relationships, particularly with other democratic liberal middle powers like Japan, Korea, Germany and India. And if our governments fail to create conditions where investment and entrepreneurialism are easy to connect, we will fail to replace Australia's primary source of unparalleled economic growth, in particularly fossil fuels. And this is particularly problematic when in New South Wales, our main trading partner is Japan, and 40% of our exports to Japan are coal, and Japan has a net zero target like most of our trading partners do. So this is critical today, and if we are not being imaginative about our future now, we will suffer. And we all know already how much our country has suffered from indecision and an inability to act in that energy space over at least a decade. So where governments can assist, it is in the development of new companies and in strengthening industries by smoothing the efficient flow of capital, of electrons, of information, and maximising the efficient use of land. As a Liberal, I believe that these are fundamental conditions for economic growth and productivity. AI is a natural productivity enhancing technology, and I know many of your companies have embedded this in your operations. It is why the New South Wales Coalition has already announced our commitment to appointing a Minister for AI, developing an AI Opportunities Action Plan, setting up a dedicated AI infrastructure delivery group, and we have also announced AI for Biz. And I promise that I haven't spoken to my cousin about this before we announce the policy, but it really aligns with what StackUp does. So I'm glad to see that our family, a good family name is thinking of good ideas. So AI for Biz is a low interest loan for small and medium businesses that is designed to allow businesses to incorporate AI and cybersecurity technologies into their operations. AI is designed to kickstart the broad yet tailored uptake of AI and cybersecurity tools that are needed to boost our productivity and embed necessary technologies across all businesses in New South Wales. This year, the New South Wales Government's own budget papers specifically note that, and I quote, "In the absence of meaningful reforms or a major technological breakthrough, low productivity growth will continue." And yet, the budget provided no particular investment in AI or these new potential technological opportunities. There are such obvious ways that government and innovators can work together. There's a whole other speech that I could give you about where I think the smoothing of efficient flow of capital and electrons and information can be underpinned by incredible and kind of easy policy changes at a state and federal level. Innovation policy is not rocket science. Government must have clear strategy and tactics to generate business confidence. Government should be predictable. And transparency and accountability are key ingredients to work efficiently with business and build public trust in a rapidly evolving world. Working together, we can imagine and realise a future where our government is a reliable partner for private enterprise, where our policies for improving living standards and quality of life rely on economic growth through innovation, where innovation and trade strengthen our position in a rapidly changing world, and where we empower citizens to grow their own wealth along the way. And I did want to point out something that I loved about Andrew's contribution around authenticity, because I spoke at the Women in AI Australia launch just last week, and I get told a lot, or I hear a lot in politics and in leadership positions, women get told, you can't be what you can't see. And I really hate that saying so much, because you should be exactly what you can't see. The whole point of innovation and growth and change is to fill a gap that hasn't been filled, to be something that doesn't exist in the world already. That is the spirit of entrepreneurialism and innovation that I know all of you in this room embody. So be exactly what you can't see. Be committed to that. Be passionate. Know that you have supporters in politics as well as your collaborators in industry. So that future that we can imagine relies on a present that recognises and rewards excellence, just as we are doing tonight in the Consensus Awards. So I wanted to express my, again, gratitude for being invited to be here tonight, but also my thanks to all of you for being so passionate in making your ideas real. Let's get down to business.